Hey guys, I'm back with another Batmobile, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the Jada Metals diecast release of the Batmobile from Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Now, within the past few weeks, there have been quite a few Batman v Superman collectibles that have hit the store shelves, and I spent a couple of days on the hunt for some of these collectibles, but this Batmobile was the number one item on my list. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find it in stores, so I broke down and I ordered it from this model car company out in California. And I was actually blown away by how inexpensive it is, especially when you compare it with some of the other recently released Batmobile toys. Now, Jada Toys is a company that I've never really heard of, but I was familiar with their metals diecast line because something else Batman v Superman related that I was hunting for was this line of animated metal figures of Batman and Superman. You can see that it has the same style of packaging. And these die-cast metal figures, they really have an obvious weight to them. And I think it's funny how it has this semi-warning label at the top. It says, "Caution, heavy," just to let you know how heavy it is. And you can see on the back here, it has all the variations that they have of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And I love these exaggerated, cartoony looking figures. I know it's not for everyone, but I saw the announcement for these online, and when I saw that the same company was releasing the Batmobile from the movie, I knew I had to have it. And while the figures have that exaggerated, stylized design, the Batmobile, at least in the box here, it seems to be exactly like the design that we see from the movie. So let's take a look at the packaging first. It has a standard promo image of Batman, and then the Batmobile on the bottom there. It says that it's a pre-painted kit, so there's obviously some assembly required. And it says at the top that there are 25 parts to assemble. On the sides here, it has that same promo image of Batfleck. It's the same on both sides. And on the back, we have an assembled image of the Batmobile. And I guess over here on the right, these are images highlighting a few of the features, like the gun turret, the opening canopy, and the detail in the cockpit. On the top of the box, it has the Batman v Superman logo, and it also lets us know that there is a screwdriver included, so that's pretty helpful. So yeah, let's get everything out of package and see what we have inside. And here are all of the pieces outside of the box. Now, aside from the parts, you also get this mini instruction page. It says that there are basically 9 steps to assemble the model. Not too bad. I think I can figure it out. And here is the handy little screwdriver that they include. Now, the front of the box says that the kit has 25 pieces, but they must be including the screws and the screwdriver in that number. And actually, I'm kind of glad that there aren't 25 specific parts to the actual body of the Batmobile, because I'm generally not great at assembling things like this. So, you have the chassis, you got the back bumper here, and the 2 parts for the brake drums, the main body of the car, the 4 tires, the front bumper, and then you have the screws and the axles there. The instructions seem to be pretty straightforward, so let's build this new Batmobile and see what it looks like all put together. Now, I think this Batmobile is awesome. I don't know if it's because of the size and the fact that you're able to see more detail, but I love this model. It wasn't too difficult to assemble. I did have some trouble with the back, with the brake drums. The instructions that it comes with, they're very minimal. So I wasn't entirely sure about how some of the pieces went into place. I actually had to pull up some pictures of the actual Batmobile from the movie just to sort of follow those to see where everything fit. And I'm blown away by this Batmobile, especially for the price that I paid. You know, I don't have many large-scale Batmobiles in my collection, but this is quite possibly one of my new top favorites in my overall Batmobile collection. Let's check out the front of the car here, because it has some really great and fairly accurate detail. And it makes sense, you know, it's a bigger scale, so they're able to add more detail to the overall sculpt. I'm not entirely sure what the exact scale of the model is. I didn't notice any information on the packaging. So let's do a few side-by-side comparisons here so you guys can get a better sense of the scale. Let's start off with the other main large-scale Batmobile in my collection. This is the Hot Wheels 1/18 scale model of the 1989 Batmobile. Now, other than some Hot Toys models that are out there, this 1/18 scale is generally the standard size for the large-scale models of the Batmobile. And the Batman v Superman Batmobile seems to be in scale with this one. It may be a little bit smaller, but I'm not entirely sure if that's just because of the design of the car. Now, here is the Hot Wheels 1/43 scale model of the Arkham Knight Batmobile, another one of my favorites. Now, with this one, you really start to get an idea of the difference in scale. This is sort of the middle of the road size. Most of the Eagle Moss Batmobiles are around a 1/43 scale, and Hot Wheels has the 1/43 line, as well as a slightly smaller 1/50th scale model. Now here is the 1/64 scale model of the Dawn of Justice Batmobile. This is the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. I did a review of this one, and I'll leave a link to that video down in the description box. But it looks tiny compared to this new one by Jada. I like how they both have that sort of armored gray look. I think it looks cool, and that's pretty much the way the color is in the movie. It doesn't look like your usual black Batmobile. I've read a few complaints about that online, but I personally think it's another way that the movie is trying to have a few visual ties to Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. You know, in the movie, the bat symbol, the bat suit, they're obviously borrowing from that book, and I think that the color of this Batmobile is maybe their way of paying homage to the bat tank from The Dark Knight Returns. Now, this Batmobile, it doesn't have a lot of features. The tires do roll, of course, but the two main features that it has are pretty cool. Let's check this out. Most of us have seen this, but the cockpit opens with this, I'm not sure what to call it. It's this sort of split canopy, almost like this bat wing or butterfly effect. You got to be careful with it on the model when you're opening it, because it doesn't necessarily feel fragile, but it does feel like if you push it a little too far, it has the potential to snap off. But just look at that. It's so cool. I think it's cool, at least. It's not incredibly detailed, but I think what they included is great. You got the detailing on the top of the dashboard or the console there. This Batmobile, to me, sort of has this made-for-speed feel. When I look at the cockpit, it almost has elements of like a futuristic NASCAR cage, or maybe even a fighter jet cockpit. I love the fact that this model includes the little things like the gear shift and the steering wheel. Those little accents, they make a big difference to me. Now, the other feature is the gun turret on the front here. The gun turret has a little bit of a rotating articulation. It's a nice touch. So, you know, you can have a few slight display variations. And the detail of the sculpt on the turret, I think is spot on, especially when you look at some of the close-up images that we've seen of this Batmobile. And that's something I can probably say about the overall model. The sculpt is very accurate. Like I said earlier, I thought the model was going to be similar to the figures that Jada was releasing with those sort of exaggerated cartoony proportions. But I think they went out of their way to make a faithful recreation of this awesome new Batmobile. Let me just pick it up here and give you a closer look at some of the detail. Not just in the gun turret, but all of those sculpted lines on the bumper. Same thing on the hood. And all 4 tires on this Batmobile are made from a hard rubber material. It's very solid, almost like a hard plastic, but at the same time, it gives a little bit when you push in on it. And the top of the body is one solid piece of die-cast metal, but I'd say the bulk of this Batmobile is made from high-grade plastic. The windshields are obviously this thin, clear piece of plastic, so that you can see into the cabin there. And then the back bumper, the tail fins, and all the machinery under the tail fins, that axle in the back, the exhaust port, all of that is made from plastic as well. Again, the model doesn't feel fragile, but it doesn't necessarily have that same solid weight that I've seen with some Hot Wheels models in this scale. I don't think that takes anything away from it because it's such a brilliant sculpt, though. I think it's a really strong display piece. One thing that I would say about this Batmobile, and this is in no way a complaint, but since this is in a sense a model kit, it has a slightly incomplete feel to it. First of all, you have to partially assemble it yourself, and just like a traditional model kit, it's not a complete product, right? And I'm probably going to leave mine the way it is, but I can imagine some collectors, they could maybe add just a few paint apps, like a little bit of battle damage or a weather defect. I think it would go a long way. Again, it's not a complaint because it's an amazing sculpt, and I think the fact that it is a model kit, that it doesn't have excessive paint apps, that you do have to assemble it to a certain degree, it may be why they were able to keep the price so low. I mean, I only paid about $20 for this, and some of the new toy Batmobiles out there, like the Epic Strike Batmobile, which is a cool toy, but the retail price for that toy is higher than this movie-accurate Batmobile. I think you're definitely getting your money's worth with this awesome recreation of a great new design of the Batmobile. In closing, I have to say I love this model. If you're a Bat fan, if you are in any way a fan of this new design of the Batmobile, I'd say this Jada model is an absolute must-have. Now, there is some assembly required, right? But it's not too bad, especially since it doesn't come with very good instructions. But if I can put this thing together, then anybody can. The sculpt is brilliant. The tires on mine, they all roll without any problems, and it has a couple of cool little features. Given the price point, I think it is a no-brainer. I'm really glad I was able to find it. I've become a big fan of this new design of the Batmobile, and I'm looking forward to adding a few more versions of it to my collection. So, we've been looking at the Jada Metals diecast release of the Batmobile from Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.